I'll mount these onto the base, and then I will cut my wood that I'm going to put in between here to Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're new, my name's Todd. Well, I finally decided to start work on the old cash register Halloween prop that I want to use this fall for out here in the studio. Now, the theme for this year's Halloween for the studio out here is that of an undertaker, coffin maker, furniture maker. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have one of those old type wooden cash registers here up on the counter. So that's what this video is going to be about. Now, I'm not sure how long this is going to take to make this. So this video may be like a two-part series. Not sure yet, but that's probably how it'll turn out. Now, before we get going, let me show you a couple pictures of how I intend for this cash register to look like when I'm done. Well, that's what I want it to look like when it's done. Let me show you how I plan on building it. Now keep in mind, before I show you this, I am not an artist, so don't laugh. So this is kind of the diagram of how I'm going to build the cash register. I have no plans, it's kind of just in my head. I just did some Googling and kind of looked at how they were made and came up with an idea that I thought would work. Now also keep in mind that this will not be mechanical, it'll be static. So when you push these little buttons, nothing's going to happen. It's just there for looks only. So let me kind of tell you what we got going on here. Now this is the side profile of the cash register, and it'll be made out of plywood. The base here will be made out of plywood also. The top, some type of wood. This will be glass. These pieces here will be wood also. And then this will be wood, this will be wood, this will be wood. And then I'll make like a box here that the money will set in that will kind of pop. It won't pop out, but I'll probably have it like hanging out a little bit. So that's the plan. Now, as far as what type of wood I'm going to use, well, for the profile, and there'll be two of these, I'm going to use plywood. For the base, I'm going to use plywood. For these little pieces of wood here, I'm going to use just some small pieces of wood. And this will basically help kind of connect this side to the other side and hold them together. And then in between here will be wood. And for that, I'm probably going to use the real thin underlayment wood that I've used for other projects for that. So let me show you the wood. So again, this is the plywood I'm going to use. And so what I'll do is I'll trace out that profile for the register onto this plywood. And what I'll do is I'll probably take and cut this in 3/4, like 3 pieces. 1 piece, 2 piece, and 3 piece. And then I'll nail 2 of the pieces together and trace out the profile for the register. And then I'll take my jigsaw and cut it out as one. That way the 2 pieces will match when I go to pull them apart. And then the 3rd piece here will be the base. And so what I plan on doing with that is I'm going to put like a little edge around it. So I'm going to use my router. Now I'm not sure how that'll work using plywood, but I think if the blade's sharp enough it'll work fine. So we're going to try it. And then for the pieces like here, here, and here, I'm going to use this real thin underlayment. And this, I'll be out of bend to get this curve. Now I may have to go through and cut in here, not all the way, but just kind of slice through here a little bit, make a bunch of little cuts. That way it will kind of bend for me. And then on this part right here, this is going to be where the little keys stick out that you would push down to make the sail and then have the till pop open. Now I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to use to make those little buttons, but we'll figure that out later. But this section right here will be made out of this wood, and what I'll do is I'll take and cut a bunch of little cuts in there so that the little metal pieces or whatever I use for these little buttons to stick out. Now, before I go on and trace this and cut it all out, consider subscribing to the channel if you like these type of videos. Alright, so I got the base of the register routed out, the edges here, and it worked. I'll probably take a piece of sandpaper and just kind of clean them up a little bit, but the router worked on the plywood. And then here are the two sides for the cash register. As you can see, I had them together when I cut them, so they're identical. Alright, so the next step in this project will be to actually put this thing together, at least a framework for it. And so what I'll do is I'll mount these onto the base, and then I will cut my wood that I'm going to put in between here to kind of hold the sides together and then give the wood that I put on the front here support. And then I'll put like a back on, and then I'll show you what it looks like. 1 week later, I went ahead and did some work on this the other night, but I'm not really doing anything on it today because it's raining out. And I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but I usually take my tools and set them out here on the side of the yard here when I do the work. So I won't be doing that today. But let me show you what I've got going on here. So I went ahead and fastened the two sides to the base here using my nail gun, some screws, and glue. Now what I did was I had some scrap dimensional lumber that I took and cut these down using my table saw and my cutoff saw, and basically made some supports for the back and the side. Now if you notice on the bottom here, I also put another piece of wood on each side, and this basically acts as the glide for the cash drawer, and I'll show you how that works, and then I'll talk about these pieces here. So this is the cash box, and I went ahead and made that the other day too, just out of some scrap wood along with that real thin paneling board here. Just a basic box using my nail gun, glue, table saw, and cutoff saw. Now these here actually slide in between these parts right here, which keeps the drawer in place and keeps it from moving around. Now this cash drawer, it won't like pop out automatically, so there's no mechanical anything on this. It's just there for looks. But how this works is basically it'll slide in there like that, and as you can see, it slides out. Now I'm going to have to put a face on it eventually to kind of hide this and clean it up and make it look nice, and I'll probably use this real thin wood here when I do that, so it'll kind of go on something like that. So I've got the cash box. That's what that's going to be. Looks nice, works nice. Now the next thing I did, and this required some thinking on my part, so I probably spent more time thinking about this than actually working on building it, and that is how I'm going to make the levers or the keys for the cash register. So I came up with a neat idea, and that is, for the keys themselves, I'm going to use popsicle sticks. And then attached to the popsicle sticks, I found these little craft wooden pieces, and they're basically wooden circles that I've been cut in half. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these popsicle sticks and I'm going to make an angle on one end, like a 45-degree angle. And I'll probably just take my sander and hold my sander and just take this thing and hold it on there and kind of grind off some of the material there to make a 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to take one of these wooden balls, half balls, and glue it to the end. And it'll look like something like this, which looks like a key. And it's very inexpensive. Now, this key is going to attach to this wood in here. And like I said, this was probably about the hardest part I had to do because I had to think extra hard to do it. And it took a lot of measuring and cutting so that everything would line up. But basically, I'm going to take these two pieces of wood and mount them to the inside like they are now. I'll probably adjust it just to make it fit right. And then these keys here will fit in these little grooves. And I'll rotate them. I'll have one on the top, one on the bottom, one on the top, one on the bottom. So there'll be like 8 on the bottom and 8 on the top, but they'll kind of be up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Now they won't move. They'll be stationary. They'll be static. They'll be there just for looks. And then, of course, I'll paint them to make them look like keys. Now, once I do that, this is what I'm going to do. So I'll take a piece of wood here, and I've already cut some of this, but I need to do the finished cut on it. And I'll put a piece of wood like this. And I've got to cut the edge here, as you can tell. The front will have a piece like this, and this will hide the front here and clean it all up, make it look nice. And then I'll use another piece of wood here, and I've already kind of cut it, but again, I've got to trim the end. And this I just kind of did by accident. I had some old paneling that I used to do the inside of the studio here, like a tongue and groove. And so basically I took and cut the back of this groove off to make a little slot here. And this works great to hold the piece of wood here that's going to cover the keys because of this little groove here. So what I'll do is I'll use this piece here on like so, and that'll sit on top of the wood. And then I'll take this piece here that I cut, which is just that real thin paneling board again. You can see how thin it is. And this was kind of tricky also because I had to line these up with these slots so that these keys would fit through it. But basically how it'll work is, once I get these keys put in these slots and glued in, this piece here will slide over the keys like that, and this will be pushed in, so it's not nailed in now. And actually, when I do it, I'll probably screw this, and that way, if I ever have to take it off to repair these keys, it'll be easier to do. But how this will work is these keys that I'm making will slide in here. And they'll glue inside and set inside those little slots that I made. So you can kind of get an idea what that's going to look like. They're just sitting in there now, so they're kind of crooked. But these will all be keys. And then again, I'll have to cut these edges off and trim it. I just haven't done that yet. And then, on top of this, I will use some more lumber that I'll put up here at the top. And this I'll probably nail in and glue in. This I'll probably nail and glue in. But this piece right here, I'm just going to put a couple screws on there so that if I have to remove this, I can do it easy and without breaking it. That way I can put it back on. You never know, I might have to, some of these little levers, these little keys might get broke over time and I might need to replace them. So that'll just be easier for me to take it off and put it back on. So that's kind of how that's going to work. And then of course on the top here, I'm going to take more of this real thin plywood, underlayment type wood, and I'm going to bend it so that it rolls right here. And then I'll take some more scrap lumber, some small pieces, and put here, make like a box. And then I'll probably take some I'll probably go to like the Dollar Tree and buy some picture frames with the plexiglass on it. And then I'll put the glass up here, and then inside I'll put like something in there. I'll either put like a money value or put like no sell or something like that. So that's the plan, what I'm going to do. I think so far it's looking pretty good. You can actually tell what it looks like. It's big, I'm not going to lie to you, it looks big, it is big. It could be maybe a little bit smaller, but it's okay. I mean, I like the size of it. I've actually never seen one like up close and in person, so I've only seen them, you know, on photographs. But that's what we got going on so far. Tell me what you think in the comments below there. I think I'm going to wrap this video up and call this part 1. Now I'll leave a link in the video there that will allow you to access part 2 once I get it done. That will show you the completed register. Now if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Until then, talk to you later.